Welcome to the Horse Speak Book Club. I'm Laura Wilsey, and we are here embarking on a journey through the Horse Speak Trilogy. The Horse Speak team is dedicated to giving horses a voice and being their well-deserved advocates. We provide evidence-based knowledge of equine body language that is intrinsic, observable, and repeatable. We offer online courses, a weekly video club where we analyze our members' videos from herd dynamics to riding. And we also offer in-person clinics as well as online learning. You can visit our website at horsespeakacademy.com. Again, this is a judgment-free zone. Everyone here has a variety of horsemanship backgrounds, and we ask that you keep this environment safe so no one feels shamed in any way. All right, we're going to begin page 68, core energy. This is a good time to start exploring how sensitive your horse is to your core. Your true center, your balance point, is located behind your belly button. This place in the human body is called the hara in martial arts, which believes that energy broadcasts from your core. If we assume the horse has similar core energy, we should note that it is expressed through the chest as it radiates through from the depths of the center of his body. It doesn't matter whether you believe there is an energy expression from your core or not. You can still observe the horse's response to it every day. We've already learned that O is a beckoning posture. Now it is time to learn about its counterpart, X. When you face a horse directly, eyes, shoulders, hands, belly button, and feet, you are in the beginning formation of the X posture. Raise your hands or spread your feet, and you begin to make a big X with its center at your belly button in your core energy. Making an X communicates go away. When a horse flattens his ears, arches his poll, spreads his front feet or hind feet or both, and seems to get taller, he is making an X. His posture is not welcoming. It is not beckoning you toward him. When you make your own body into an X, you are mirroring this communication. Conversation backup. Sharon likes to do this in the horse's stall to begin, and only later to try it outside. Most of the time, just pointing your core at the backup button, aim your belly button at it, is enough to move a horse backward. You will find you really don't have to muscle most horses around to make them back up. There are some stoic horses that have shut down to people, and with them, you can reach out with your hand to actually tickle or scratch this button. Number 2, some horses that won't back up don't want to give you the space in front of them because they are questioning your rank as a leader in the same way they would question another horse. When you ask for a backup with these horses, it is not a matter of how far they back up. Praise their effort even if they just lean or show intention to move, thus creating success you can build on later. As we discussed in step 1, learning to observe your horse's micromovements will alert you to many things, including the moment when he changes from braced to thoughtful. Rewarding for thoughtfulness encourages him to realize you want him thinking and not reacting. Conversation, blocking forward movement. Blocking forward movement is related to the backup. How? For the horse that wants to move forward, staying in place equates to backing up in his mind. Sharon is sure most of us have known a horse that liked to push past when his stall door or gate was opened. This kind of behavior can be changed if you talk to him about it in his language. Number one, to block forward movement on the ground, that is, slow down or stop a horse you are handling or leading, stand slightly in front of and to one side of the horse with relaxed posture. Imagine your breath flowing down your legs and into the ground through your feet. Face the same direction the horse is moving, pause slightly, and turn your core energy as if shining a flashlight beaming from your belly button across the space in front of the horse like a barrier. See how he responds. If necessary, aim your core energy toward the backup button at the front of your horse's shoulder. You are claiming the space in front of your horse. A sensitive horse will not only pause when you do this, slowing or halting, but will begin to back up if you keep your core energy focused toward his chest. All conversation that Sharon presents in this book fulfill the basic needs of horses with respect to what they consider important in their world. These conversations let the horses know that what matters to them also matters to us. As a result, they might totally change their minds about what we are asking. Okay, Violet, you're next, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
Joe, the conversation begins. I'm gonna assume everyone knows it's Sharon talking. Need eyes.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Most of you have horses that have had at least one previous owner. Daily, you are presented with habits, attitudes, and preferences based on prior history or conditioning. As you learn to interpret and mimic their language, you can unravel some of the mysteries your horses present. Come with me in your imagination as I meet and apply the conversational skills of horse speak with a big, bay, off-the-track thoroughbred. Let's call him Joe. Joe is a study in contrast. He is physically talented and seems to like people. He's a pretty horse and not mean. But at times, Joe bolts under saddle, weaves in his stall, and can be hard to catch. He can be friendly, but at other times is defensive. He is often a challenge to lead and is nervous about doorways. His owners, Mike and Liz, are calm, considerate people who want to use Joe for light ring work and perhaps trail riding. Other professionals have already tried to help Mike and Liz by overlaying training systems onto Joe's inconsistent behavior. However, I'm not here to train Joe. I'm here to have conversations with him. I want to find out what he thinks about himself, what he understands about his environment, and what he feels about people. My approach begins with elements of the greeting ritual, which is the set of gestures that horses perform in different combinations when they first meet or are turned out together in the morning. Using this conversation, I will find out whether Joe's distress is linked to his mental reasoning, his emotional self, or possible physical limitations. As I walk into Joe's barn, I become still on the inside, inner zero. I glimpse him in a stall at the far end and begin to observe him as I walk down the aisle. Horses have great distance vision, so I can be sure he is already aware of my presence. The people around me are trying to keep up a friendly banter and explaining what they think his problems are. Since horses live only in the moment, I keep my focus in the present moment as well. My attention leaves the world of humans as I focus completely on Joe. As I approach, I watch his face for clues to several things. What does he think he needs to present to people? What is he actually feeling about being approached? Does he expect a treat or to be bullied? At what moment am I too close to his personal bubble of safety, if ever? I interpret all this information by observing the subtle cues of Joe's focus and attention on me. He is watching me with alert eyes and tense ears. His mouth is tight and his head is up high. He is not breathing much, but he is flaring his nostrils every now and then, as if to get a sniff of my scent, which tells me he is curious. So far, Joe is accepting my approach with interest. However, his tense ears and raised head tell me he is already on alert and ready for danger. Joe keeps looking at me with his head outside the stall, a more hopeful position than if he was hiding in the back of the stall. Joe's ears occasionally twitch, an indication he reacts quickly. His tense face shows he is sensitive to a person's moods. I suspect his tight lips and clenched jaw point to the fact that he anticipates people might be in a bad mood around him, although he doesn't know why. He suddenly moves his head away from me and puts his ears backward. I stop, which lets him know I understand what his gesture meant, that I am at the edge of his bubble of personal space. No one has ever stopped approaching him when he has asked before, and so this gets his attention. If a horse looks away when you are not close to him, it can mean he is feeling invaded. Joe told me I had reached the edge of his bubble of personal space, essentially his edge of safety where humans are concerned. All horses have a different size personal space, as well as humans. You can make a habit of noticing when your horse reacts, even slightly, as you approach. A reaction can happen when your bubble touches his. Now I am aware of Joe's boundary. I ask permission to continue to enter his space the same way that another horse would. I start by taking all the pressure off and turning away from him for a moment. I perform the human form of aw shucks, scuffing the ground with my shoe a little and looking with interest at the floor. I even pick up a bit of hay and pretend to examine it closely. Horses do aw shucks to take pressure off another horse or human by sniffing the ground. In his language, I am telling him I am in no hurry. Doing the aw shucks motion also gives me time to check in with my agenda, the pre-greeting approach and retreat that horses use with each other to keep calm and respectful. The only agenda a horse has is whatever is happening in the current moment. He has his wants and needs and will tell you directly what these are. I'm interested in Joe's messages. Soon Joe brings his head back toward me. This time he is sniffing more. He has lowered his head a fraction. He is showing he is curious about me. Although he is looking at me, I notice his eyelids are a little tightened. He is not yet convinced I have an honest and friendly intention, but he is open to talking about it. Now the dance is on. I step forward one step. He withdraws his head to the side. I stop, look down, scuff the floor, and look in the same direction he just did. He turns back and looks at me. I repeat the sequence 2 more times when he looks away. Horses often have a pattern of 3 in their negotiations with each other. My question for Joe is, may I approach you? I normally repeat a question 3 times before I change my tactics if the horse doesn't answer me. I'm telling Joe it is his decision if and when I approach. His eye softens and his head lowers even more.
Thank you. Danuta?
Finally, I am within reach of Joe. I officially request if I may join his bubble by nodding my head and waiting. If Joe pins his ears, pulls away completely, or acts in any way rigid, his answer is no. When I receive a no, I scuff the floor and look away. Then just sit down and breathe. I will wait patiently for him to allow me to connect. I am just following horse protocol. I have not been given permission, and I must wait for it. Joe takes a break. He goes inside his stall and circles. He passes gas, snorts, checks for food and water. He appears to rudely tune me out. It is not rude, however, in the context of horse speak. He is thinking it over. I asked him if I could connect with him in his own language. He is contemplating the fact that a person is talking to him in a way he understands, and he might be overwhelmed. If he has had a troubled past with humans, he is probably comparing my actions with his database of prior experience. After a few minutes, he puts his head out of the stall. His eyes are wrinkled and worried, and his lips tense, but he glances at me. I stand again, turning towards him and holding my body at a slight 45-degree angle, which removes direct pressure to his head. Then repeat my formal request. I nod my head again and wait. This time, Joe does not look away. Bingo, I just got permission to come closer. I step towards him, holding my arm in a relaxed way with my hand in a soft fist, fingers pointing down, and knuckle towards his muzzle. This gesture mimics how a horse's muzzle touches or reaches towards another horse's nose. My knuckle touch must be gentle because a horse's nose is sensitive. There are normally 3 knuckle touches in the greeting ritual. When I offer Joe my knuckle touch, I'm on alert. It would be against horse protocol for him to bite me in this formal greeting. However, there's always a chance he could offer me a defensive nip, which is a type of communication as well. And if he does, I'm prepared to withdraw. Since Joe does not do this, I can keep conversation going. After the first knuckle touch, a horse will play copycat, looking off to the right or left and waiting to see if you will too. With this gesture, a horse decides who is the follower and who is the leader, because the one who initiates that look is offering to lead. The one who follows the look is saying he's okay to follow for now. I initiate copycat with Joe to demonstrate I understand the horse protocol. I offer to be his leader, swinging my head to look to one side, and wait to see if Joe turns his head in the direction I'm looking. If he does, he's open to following me. If he turns to look in the opposite direction, he is not yet open to considering me as the leader, but is interested in continuing the conversation. If he withdraws into his stall, no matter how slightly, he is too insecure with humans to play copycat. There is no wrong reaction. I am just gathering information at this point. What Joe does indicate what sort of opinion he has about people, he doesn't know. Joe does not play copycat after the first knuckle touch, which is also perfectly okay. I turn towards him and softly extend my knuckle towards his muzzle again. After the second knuckle touch, I copy his movement. He looks towards the door of the barn, so I swing to look in that direction also. I want him to know I am on his side and willing to meet him halfway. In a moment, he brings his head back towards me, so I turn towards him as well. After this second touch and copycat, he pulls away, respectfully declining contact. He is not being rude, just politely withdrawing. Since I have followed the greeting ritual protocol with Joe and see that Joe is still tense, his lips tight, eyes hard and wrinkled, and never dropping his head, I am prepared to be sent away, but hopeful he will complete the ritual with a third touch. The third knuckle touch is the final one for this part of the greeting. It determines the next step in the conversation and requires sensitivity. The third knuckle touch leads into more or less connection and conversation depending on the horse's needs and comfort level. In a herd situation, this part of the greeting can result in grooming, erupt into play, or the two horses might agree to share space, moving off together in tandem, or standing still in deep rest. Alternatively, it can result into one horse aggressively sending the other horse away with this go-away language, a squeal, pinned ears, even a nip to the neck. Basically, the third knuckle touch determines if you are a friend or foe. Joe does not drive me away. In response, I offer to groom him by slowly reaching back towards his withers, which is the protocol for affection. If he backs away, his answer is no to grooming. Grooming is sharing space. It is the horse allowing you into his bubble of personal space. If the horse seems engaged somewhat, then I know he might want to welcome me into his space. This is Joe's response. At first, he's open to my grooming gesture, allowing my touch, but then he leans away, not yet sure he wants me that close. I now choose to demonstrate to Joe I know about personal space, both his and mine. The best way I can find to define our bubbles is by asking him to give me space the way his mum would have. I reach up to the back of his cheek, to the go-away face button that says, "Move your head out of my space." I press it gently with the fingertips on one hand to clearly ask him to move his head away from my bubble. When he moves his head away, I step away and pause, giving him time to absorb this information. I breathe deep and relax my jaw. I wiggle my lips, which means, "I'm having a nice day. Are you?" I've initiated this conversation about personal space, but also wish to keep our connection soft. I tell a joke to the people watching. I make a soft, silly noise as I wiggle my lips. My sense of humor and deep breathing is crucial for communicating to him that I do not want our conversation to be super serious. I need to act like a peacemaker to a horse that is tense, unsure, and showing me in a way he holds his face that he has the potential to blow up. Why do I want Joe to believe that I am a peacemaker? Because I never want to get into a fight with a horse. The actual occasions where I've had to keep myself safe with a truly aggressive horse are few and far between. I want to do everything in my power to convince a horse that I will do just the opposite of anything remotely resembling a fight or challenge. The most trustworthy leaders in the herd are also the calmest.
Thank you. Suzanne? Suzanne, are you able to unmute yourself?
Okay. Is that right? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Since Joe has yielded to my space when he moved his head away, I now perform the nurturing breath. It is like a deep backward sniff, as though I need to clear my nose. The result is a sort of purring sound that dams make to their foals, and I have heard other nurturing horses offer this sound to herd members in distress. I've been able to successfully use this sound to assure horses my intent is not only to listen, but to talk and soothe as well. At this point, I have 1, completed all 3 steps of the greeting ritual. 2, asked Joe to move over by pressing the go away face button or the cheek button. Stepped away from his space, wiggled my lips, and offered the nurturing breath. I've assured him that while I do want to talk to him, I am not here to push him around. I'm here to listen to him. Now things get interesting. It seems as if Joe is the type of horse that always likes people, even if he gets confused by them. Joe returns and wants to say hello again. One more knuckle touch confirms that now I can just use one knuckle touch as a check-in strategy. Joe lingers on my knuckles this time and starts to lip them as though he is grooming me. However, Joe is overexcited and does not know how to do this softly and in a manner appropriate to my bubble of safety. I must now use his good intentions to show him what kind of bubble I want. I move his head away one more time, firmly but without malice. I reach to his neck and shoulder to scratch him. I also offer cupping, a sort of patting in which I cup my hand and firmly pat him up and down on what I can reach at the top of his neck. This creates a relaxing feeling for a tense horse that wants to connect. If my touch is too light or unsure, a tense horse might feel irritated. I match my cupping to his level of intensity, slowly encouraging him to relax. Since Joe has lowered his head and relaxed a bit, I reward him by leaving. The only thing horses value more than food and water is space. Peacefulness in a herd happens when horses have their personal space a comfortable distance from another horse. Space equals peace to a horse. So by giving Joe his space, I've offered him peace as a reward. After 15 minutes, I return to visit him. I wait at the edge of the barn to see what sort of face he offers me. This time he looks directly at me without tension. He blows through his nose and licks and chews. His mouth is now relaxed. A horse can lick and chew, is feeling safe. He's literally chewing it over in his mind. He's also blinking, which tells me that he is not holding tension in his eyes. His blinking, in conjunction with his licking and chewing, indicates Joe has thought about what I have done in our last conversation. He is interested in more dialogue. I blink at him, pretend to chew gum, and nod my head. I'm saying, yes, that's quite a lot. This tells Joe I'm thinking about it too and would like to talk some more. He bobs his head slightly and looks away for a second. He's checking to see if I understand that even though he wants me to come over, he is still unsure about our space bubbles. I copycat his movement, which tells him that I'm still paying attention to his signals. Next, I nod my head to say I'm coming over. I extend my arm, knuckles up, and walk directly to him. We do not need to do the long three-part formal greeting this time because one is enough to slowly learn about each other. So I gently knuckle touch his nose 3 times in a row pretty quickly, but linger on the third one to see if he wants grooming. This time he lingers and wiggles his lips on my knuckles. I reach out with my pointy finger towards his cheek to the go away face button, or the cheek button. I can maintain my bubble of personal space because I can ask him to move his face over at any moment if I feel invaded. I reach up to scratch his neck. When he overrides my head and reaches to sniff my face, I'm not surprised. Some of Joe's problems stem from being overly friendly and not knowing how to have boundaries with people because he does not talk human as well as other horses do. With conversation, I can explain to Joe what people want in his own language. I stop my affectionate scratching for a moment. In horse speak, I ask Joe to move his head one more time. I gently but firmly move his head away on the go away face button. The reason? I am being a leader in determining the way our bubbles of personal space interact, which continues to assure Joe, 1, that I know about space bubbles, 2, I know about the invasion of space, and 3, I can tell him politely how and when to give me space.
Thank you, Suzanne. Emily?
This time I do not leave. I step back, regroup, and allow him to regroup as well. When I offer my knuckles again, he predictably reaches for me. A light bulb is going off in his head. He is beginning to realize I can read his questions and respond to his own language. And so now he asks me a very important question. Joe is wondering about the dynamic of our relationship, just as he would if he were in a wild herd. Joe looks off at a real or imagined threat in the distance. I suspected this question might come up. If he is going to accept me as a peacemaker and leader, it has to include the role of protector as well. In a herd, I call this protector role the sentry. That is, the horse that makes the decision about whether or not the horse should run. This way, there are not 20 horses all making up their own minds whether or not to flee. I look toward whatever Joe is looking at and make myself alert, fixated, and tense for a moment. I blow hard at the threat, then I visibly relax. I drop my head, pretend to chew gum, and even take a big breath. Instantly, Joe drops his head and copies me. I have said to Joe, "Yes, I know all about the boogeyman. Don't worry, I will protect you." Joe's mother was responsible for keeping him safe as a baby. She would have lifted her head, stared fixedly at a potential threat, and would have blown at it loudly through her nose. Baby Joe would have stopped, watched his mother, and moved if she said so. When she relaxed, licked and chewed, then Joe could relax too. Joe has now found a way to initiate conversation with me. Several times he gets nervous about something. He is eager to see if I will pay attention to his fears every single time or not. I have to stop and look at his boogeyman every single time he sees one. I have to act like a protective mother if I want to win over his trust. Blowing the boogeyman away does more to gain a horse's trust than anything else you could possibly do. It also sets you up for all sorts of wonderful desensitization later on. When he inherently trusts you to understand his fears and respond to them, he will begin to let you handle all the big decisions. Eventually, he will be less spooky and look directly to you when something makes him nervous. Joe was beginning to trust me. I greeted him with horse speak. I groomed him starting at the withers like a horse, and I moved his face over like his mama did. I demonstrated the bubble of safety I expected from him and blew the boogeyman away several times. I provided him many moments to stand and contemplate. I have let him have the freedom of his stall without a halter or lead rope on. Joe is yawning now, a sure sign he is letting go of years of confusion and tension.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Excellent. Thank you all for reading to help us get through this part of Horse Speak, the Equine Human Translation Guide. So I love the way Sharon put this all together because the visual, the audio, the written word, the way she visually wrote this for us, it kind of takes you right into the session to be with Joe and Liz and Mike. And so, you know, the summary of these things is really that last paragraph. It's kind of like your checklist of things that we would like to manage upon meeting a horse for the first time, or even your horse that you've known for a really long time. This is very slow and specific, and as you evolve in understanding the language, you can get a little bit faster. But greeting is always number one. Bubble of personal space is always number two. And if you do have a hesitant stoic horse, showing up as the peacemaker, the protector sentry is key. And letting go of your personal value of wanting to touch with a hesitant stoic horse is going to, in the long run, be beneficial to your need of getting touched, being satisfied, because sometimes horses don't value touch like we do, or like a cat or a dog. So, you know, I really enjoyed this piece, especially on page 73, where Sharon is talking about when Joe takes a break. And she's talking about people could think that he was being rude in leaving the conversation, but from a horse speak perspective, he's taking a pause for himself, taking a walkabout to circle back around to then continue the conversation. And that's so important to the horses that are, any horse, you know, needs to walk it off and, you know, circle back around if they don't understand something. Similar to us, we might need to pause and really think about, like, I hear what you're saying, and let me just take a moment to think about that so I can come up with a thoughtful, mindful response. So I really gleaned that from this reading. as well as the importance of understanding your core energy, how we started off with the chapter, because the core energy, each individual person as well as horse has a different relationship to the energy coming off of our core. So it's really important to make sure, if you have a sensitive horse, you could just pivot toward them and you're blowing them, out of the water, so to speak, with your own core energy. So being able to see what response you're getting from your horse regarding your core energy is really going to help you turn down the volume of that energy, because we can do that. We can be more aware of ourselves upon approaching a horse, for example. Some horses who are very sensitive, if you approach them from their mid-neck button, so I'm walking toward my horse, and I walk toward the mid-neck button, the horse might walk away because my core is right on their neck, which is a place of asking them to please move their cheek, neck, and shoulder out of the space. So they're doing what I actually said. So we do have a mummy horse who is the big black Morgan mare in this book. She's quite sensitive. She's come a long way. She was very traumatized when we first got her. But she can have those certain days that if you're not mindful approaching her and you do start approaching her mid-neck button, she's like, bye. And sometimes she is like, I see you have a halter and lead rope. I'm not ready yet. This is not the place I like to be caught. So let me go into a different place on the environment, and then you can catch me. So sometimes it's two things. One, the energy is a little bit off, and two, they might just want to be caught maybe closer to the gate, away from the other horses. So it's always important to take an account what happened before, during, and after. What are the variables in the environment? Because the horses are really looking out for our best interests. So that's all I have to say about that. And if you would like to comment on the reading, you're most certainly welcome to raise your virtual hand to speak on the audio, or you're welcome to just say something in the chat. So I'm going to hit the chat right now. This is so important to me. I may be meeting a new horse this week, and how to remember all of this to make a good impression on her. Right. So Ducka, go to the last paragraph really of that and write it down. The bubble is number one. When you respect, especially on that first meeting, being like, you don't want to touch this horse, you just like, hello, and then scan, do a formal greeting. Scan one way. So that was the copycat. And if they look at a direct, say if you greet and they look at a direction, look in that direction. Yeah. Hey, what's bridge of the nose, which is not in this book, but I'm going to give you a little secret. Bridge of the nose. What's that? Like, we do this. We do. Hey, what's that? And I did this morning, which was so fascinating. I mean, this stuff really works, and I still get blown away. We're playing with my horses, or it was just an ordinary moment. I had two buckets in my hand because I was out giving some water out to Rocky where he was hanging out. And I see Luna. She's looking. And I look. I was like, what's that, Luna? And we have a local, the town shed where you can get some salt sand to put on your icy driveway. There was a truck over there. And I was like, oh yeah, Luna, look at that. Just, if you can see me, I am picking up my nose and I'm looking, and then I'm kind of bobbing my head up 3 times. What is that? And so I was like, oh, Luna, it's just a truck. And I let everything down. Tail swish, we don't have to worry about that. Then she started looking over. We do live across the street from a cemetery, so the neighbors are quiet most of the time. So I look over at the cemetery. Hey, what's over there, cemetery? Oh, that's nothing. Say again, bridge of the nose. Look, release that. She goes back to the truck, and I'm like, I know, Luna, that truck is still over there. I'm looking. What is that? I see it, and then I did a tail swish with my bucket, and I just said it out loud. Tail swish, Luna. Hey, he's just getting some sand. No worries. Then she came over to the fence line as I started walking back to the barn, and she was like, thank you so much. It was like this really amazingly soft facial expression. She's like just, it was so warm and snuggly. So anyways, it's really cool. You know, we say this all the time at the Horse Speak team, is like, this stuff really works. And it's still, after, 10 years of doing this and being with the horses, there's never a dull moment of like, this is so cool. I'm talking to a horse and helping them feel safe. So Ducka, yeah, just make yourself a little checklist and, apply, you're in the EMS program, apply some of the stuff that you've learned there and just go slow. It's all about pausing. The more you pause, the more the horse is gonna be like, you're interesting, especially with a mare. Take your time with a mare, a lot different than a gelding. They want, they want the respect. So 3-part greeting, scan. If they don't want number 3, you go 1, 2. They don't want 3. They're not ready yet. They're going to circle back around, and then they'll be ready for 3. Hi, 1, 2. How are you? 3. What's your name? They might not be ready to say their name yet, so just and film it. So then we could, your mentor could give you some feedback on what happened. One thing that is so profound to me in my Horse Speak studies was that a horse valued space over food and water. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing this in. That was another highlight moment too, because space equals safety for a horse, as a horse can, for a horse, as a horse can escape danger if they have space. Yes, and so it's so important, especially if you're in a pen with multiple horses or you're in a corner with a horse. Be sure that you are aware of where the exit strategy is for the horse. We don't want to accidentally pin them in a corner. So it's one of those things that they need to know as we reach further where their exit is. Fire drills and sports maneuvers, we'll get into that. And so that is really the horses together are practicing, if we're in this new space, how are we going to move together? How are we going to navigate corners, things of that nature? And Danuta, I see your hands up. I'll get with you in just a second. Sometimes I wish I could take a pause or even or a break in talking with people, right? So there's no problem, I feel, especially if you're having a heated discussion with someone, if both people are triggered, no one's being heard. Seriously, it's not worth your energy to continue on in a conversation. Be like, you know what? I think we both have come to a place where no one's being heard. I think we need a swish tail and take a pause. Let's go take a quick walk and we'll, get us something to drink and we'll circle back around in a minute. So then we can calm down and be able to renegotiate what we're talking about here. Because especially if it is an emotional discussion, people are going to start getting triggered and getting hurtful toward each other when that's most likely not the outcome you're looking for. You're looking to have a conversation with somebody, and most people hate conflict, so it's a practice. And that's what the beautiful sideline thing about working under the guidelines of Horse Speak is. 0 is number 1. The motto is, if the house is on fire, you can't have a conversation. So if your internal house is on fire, pause. It will help everybody in the long run. And that's the thing. Can we be the one to take the pause? Because if we have 2 people who are triggered and they're just getting after it and everyone's triggered, having a trigger party, then, someone has to be like, oh my gosh, this is not helping, right? Like, and sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. So good luck. It's really good information about the halter and lead rope. My horse Bella always leaves me when I have it, even if I'm going out to get another horse. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, not here. Blanketing, anything that you might be doing out in the paddock with other horses. They might not like, it's not safe in the middle. They usually like to be on the sideline. Typically, I mean, every horse is different, but it's a how interesting thing. Notice patterns. This language is about patterns. just like when we are formulating sentences within our native tongue, we are creating patterns. There's different languages have different language patterns, but you get familiar with the one that you use. Similarly to the horses, they have patterns too. That's why, again, it's important to film yourself, because it's a visual language. So if you were learning, like if you did Duolingo to learn a different language, it is listening to you speak into the phone or whatever device you're using to hear if you're enunciating correctly. So yeah, and we can give you feedback too for a personal session, as well as for the club, as well as we are doing, it mentions mama. Joe's mama gave him different lessons. We are going through your Horse's First Teacher webinar series. We just recorded our second installment of 3 last weekend. So you can check that out on the website. At the end of page 72, when Sharon says, "Now the dance is on," please keep in mind that the dance is one of the conversations through body language. In the beginning of learning horse speak, Pebbles, precise equine body language skills, we can tend to get caught up in the mechanics of body language so that it feels to the horse like cueing. If I do this, the horse does that. Always remember that we are saying words to build safety and trust to share in conversation. Thank you, PJ. I really appreciate you bringing that in, because yes, the theme of this year is deep listening. And those of us who have been with Horse Speak for a long time, we can get into this thing of I'm saying a ton of stuff to the horse, and then the horse is responding and there's nothing, no one's listening. So it's really important to make sure that we are slowing down and that this is a conversation. This isn't how to get more stuff done with your horse. We can have profound changes with our horses. We can encourage them. We can show them safety. We can actually do so much cool stuff with our horses, understanding them in their language instead of expecting them to understand ours. But this is not something to take advantage of, right? This is something that we are respecting this animal as a sentient being, and that they are here with us, for us. They've been around for 55 million years. And they're teaching us. We're not teaching them horse speak. Sometimes horses might have lost their way because they might not have gained the social skills that they needed at a young age. Humans came in, done some things to them, and they're like, I don't even know what just happened. I'm 10 years old, horse, and I got nothing. I've been overtrained, overpaid, overtrained, overworked, and underpaid. I'm not talking to people anymore. I'm done. So then they need some rehabilitation. And a lot of times with certain horses, they need rehabilitation. We're not dealing with just an animal. I have 4 little equines now, and they all need 3 of the 4, if I was going to be very specific, need rehabilitation. They don't trust humans. So we have to go extra slow to rebuild that trust. Corners, yes. Once I have hand grazing Rico in a little pocket of grass with a creek on one side and a bridge next to us, something spooked him, and he crashed into me, knocking me down, never grazing anyone there again. Yes. It is absolutely important to make sure in that situation too, if you're in that kind of problem-solving corner, basically, horses will bump into each other shoulder on shoulder. Hey, buddy, let's get out of here. They'll bump into the other horse. And so then he could have been bumping into you, which is unfortunate, being next to a river, all the variables as a human being, 1,000-pound animal, getting stressed, bumping you. But he's like trying to scoop you up. Hey, Violet, we got to get the heck out of here. This place is scary. So, that's a reason why he would have done that. So it's interesting to think about these accidents that happen. We're in the wrong place at the wrong time, so it's important to also be at their girth at times when we're hanging out with them. So then they have liberty of movement at the shoulder. So they don't accidentally move into us because mama and baby line up girth on girth or even baby shoulder at girth. So if mama is moving, baby can move with mama and stay at the girth and not get stepped on. I was watching Finding the Way In last night and was wondering the difference between tail swish and the part you blew away the boogeyman and they did follow me down. I forget what you called it. Okay. Um, let's see. So when we are complete with a conversation on any which topic, for example, you mentioned sentry, blow away the boogeyman. Hark, who goes there? Tail swish, there's nothing going on here. We're not talking about that anymore. But if the horse is fixated on that topic, then we need to be like Luna. She went back to the topic of the truck because it was still sitting there. Then there's trucks and stuff go there all the time, but she was still concerned about her environment. So you do that. And then there's also a circular motion. So we do tail swish by our thigh, and it's this tail swish, not tail swish like flapping our wing. It's 1, 2 by our thigh, slow, breathy. It's all good. And then follow me down. My hand goes up behind the pole from a distance, and I'll circle 3 times. Follow me down. Follow me button over friendly button over bridge of the nose over the greeting button and down. All's clear. Again, if the horse doesn't like, so to speak, if the horse isn't believing you, then there could be something going on that we're not seeing. Like I was walking Mummy the other night. I was at dusk. We went by that darn shed. And she's like, I hate the shed. And I'm like, it's fine. It's just a shed. We've walked by this multiple times. Come on, Mummy, you can do this thing. You're Mummy, right? But then, of course, always believe the horse, people. I'm telling you right now, because then I looked and I was like, boop, 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 boop. Darn fox crossed my path about, I don't know, 100 feet away. I was like, oh, by golly, Mummy, you're right. There was something in the woods that distance away. You perceived it. I got nothing. These horses are sense perception machines. We should be listening better and not making them go into scary things. So, Danuta, what do you have to say? And then we have just a couple minutes and we are going to finish our book study for the day.
Okay, hi. I just want to say, did you know that it was World Book Day on the 1st of March?
I did not know this.
Well, it was, and on my Facebook page, I've recommended this book, and I got so many. I also mentioned that there was a book club as well, and I got so many people saying what a wonderful book it was.
Oh, cool!
It was fantastic. It was really, really good, and also, did you know that it's a required text for the American Behavior Institute? For the
No.
behavioral course. So I wasn't sure if Sharon and you were aware of that, but it is.
Okay,
So
PJ, make note of that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. And
Perfect.
for me personally, I thought reading Joe's story made so much sense now. I've been doing Horse Speak now for a little
Yeah,
bit. I could visualize it. I could see Joe in my mind's eye with his ears,
right?
which was great. And there's just so much to see. It's really good. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's really good. Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because yeah, it was great. And I got some people who buying the book. I
great.
had at least 2 people inquiring whether they could get the book, and yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
okay,
What was the institute again? I think you probably just saw that chat.
I'll write it down.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and so it is possible that maybe next year, because the 3rd book is now going to be translated into Japanese. And so the first book is translated into Japanese. So since we want to go to Japan, it would be great to also be on that neck of the world and go down to Australia too. So I'm hoping that that will all come together
Oh,
for
wow.
next year.
That would be fantastic.
It would be fantastic. There is not a
Definitely.
Spanish book yet. Yeah. So cool. Danuta, thank you for that. Yeah, if you could put the name of that institute in the chat, that would be beautiful. I would love to follow up with that. It's so great. Thank you for using social media and also spreading the word about Horse Speak, and that you got such a great response. So, and then let them know that, they can check out our book club. They don't have to sign up, via the Horse Speak Academy site. They can check it out on YouTube too.
Yes, that's what I did. Yeah. I
All
said
right.
about keeping up on YouTube. So yeah.
Sweet. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, darling. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Tomorrow
right.
morning.
Tomorrow morning, yes. All right. Well, you have a good night's
Okay.
sleep. We'll see you in the
I
first
will.
thing in the
Thanks.
morning. Thank you. All right. Yes. Yeah, Danuta's over down there in Australia. So therefore, she's at a different time of life right now. She's going to be in Wednesday when we're still in Tuesday. It's so amazing, these time zone things. So yeah, American Behavior Institute. Great. I love this. So perfect. Well, that gets us to 11 o'clock. I appreciate everyone's comments. And yeah, the book is not in Spanish yet. Spain itself, I guess, has reasons for not doing the translation. So we're hoping, that someone would like to do that, because there are a lot of Spanish speaking folks on the earth. And so the clock tower has struck 11. So take care, be well. It's been such a great day sharing space with you. It's an honor to be here giving horses a voice, and the gift that Sharon has given to us via her horse, Rocky, and Dakota, and all the hundreds of horses that we have met over this last years, because we keep continuing, learning and growing. And we are learning the exact and specific nuances of how our body can communicate clearly with horses. And all we need to do is just take some time to learn how. And again, if you would like to learn more about what we're doing in person or online, check us out at horsespeakacademy.com. And may you enjoy the journey of learning horse speak and have fun. Take care, be well, enjoy the rest of your day. I love you very much. See you soon.